This is what I guess it might just be a reminder for this game in particular. They need to start over again and not get themselves worked up with the previous games. They need to treat this like it is game number 1, and then they need to win all in a row.
Now here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Battle for the Fraternity. The draft is on. Which heroes are going to be prioritized? We know China is a little bit different, and there we go. No surprise there.
Bad.
Respect ban against Chicken on the Zeratul, who was very scary last time around. It is kind of questionable whether a Zeratul would have gotten picked in the first place on Battlefield of Eternity, but I think it's better to be safe than sorry on the side of SoA, because as you said earlier, Tetra, there with their backs against the wall, one more loss could mean defeat in that very first best of 5 of HGC China.
Yeah, so SoA are no longer in a best of 5. They basically now are in 3 best of 1s that they all have. They have to win all of. If they lose any of them, they're kind of owned. So we're seeing the Tassadar ban, the Protoss hate. Now can we get some Protoss love? Will we see Artanis picked in this draft at all? Valor, fairly standard. Very quickly picked. Hungering Arrow builds just gives you insane Immortal work down. Like we said, not as much consistent team fight damage, but it gives you sustain, gives you Immortal poke. It's an okay build overall that just excels a bit on this map.
Yeah, now there's a couple of options left for RPG to kind of balance out things in terms of, single target damage. Artanis, amateur opponent, might be something worth considering. A Greyman is still available, but even a hero like Tychus, which they like to play in the previous game, could actually do a lot of work, especially if you go for Odin later on. You can really dominate those narrow choke points around the boss with some nice W's and Q's.
Yeah, the Odin's super good. You can siege down those Immortals, and also we did see a very long time ago laser builds on this map, just with the level 20 laser to just murder the Immortal. That's a first pick Karazim. Wow. I don't hate Karazim in general. I'm very confused about first pick Karazim.
If there's a map where Karazim is a very common sight, it is Battlefield of Eternity, because compared to other supports, Karazim, especially if he goes for the Iron Fist build, which has become standard up to this point, offers a very surprising amount of single target DPS. Yesterday, however, Tetra, I'm not sure if you remember, we saw a very creative Karazim build, though, coming in from Hots Lady's support player, whose name just escaped me, but he went for a Transcendence full support build. Not a single aggressive talent was picked, and they made it work flawlessly. So
wait, was it Transcendence, not Insight?
Excuse me. No, it was Transcendence. Yeah, it was the green one. Yeah, not even Insight.
Okay.
That was what I was saying on stream as well. Like, normally you're kind of used to seeing Insight, but Transcendence is a very out of fashion talent, if you will.
Transcendence
but they made
is
it
out
work.
of fashion, but you mentioned in terms of Iron Fist on this map is very good. Insight is very popular as well due to the fact that you're going to be punching the Immortal a fair amount, so you really build up those stacks very quickly. Also, I don't blame you.
Oh, there he is!
Inubaraki,
we conjured him!
Love Beetle as well. But yeah, I'm not surprised you didn't remember Hot Saving Support, because they don't technically have one. They have 3 flexes.
Yeah.
365, Kitty, and Carlo.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is where SoA just sees this game as a practice game. They're like, yep, we're just going to pick a nuke because why not? And
if they win now,
their minds are going to be blown, and the beetle disease is going to spread through China.
Like a Cho'Gall.
Exactly.
One beetle Cho'Gall. Excellent. And the Mecha skin as well. Love Bug or Mecha Beetle, both really nice skins. And Ubrak has some of the best skins.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. And I'm not sure if you saw some of the Heroes 2.0 skin variations that they are going to implement.
I farmed Primeval Diablo.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
I sent the video that was on Reddit of the Leah quote that's in Primeval Diablo. Oh my god, that's creepy. They're not even HOTS fans, and they were like, that's really creepy.
That walking really animation while the Primeval Diablo is mounted, like a cockroach on the ground, it is...
Xenomorph style, it's so good. It's such
vicious.
a good skin. Really big fan of that, that's really cool. And it finally, or it very nearly, makes the original HOT cinematic accurate. The only thing that is incorrect about it now is the fact that Nova has nuke.
That's
the only thing that is incorrect about that cinematic now, because now we actually have that Diablo.
Did you see on the Heroes 2.0 Prospect website, they would show us that there was a new cinematic to be announced very, very soon? So maybe...
There's new everything. It is Heroes 2.0. We get a new cinematic, new map, new heroes. Everything is new.
It's gonna be so good. But back to the game, we see another target ban, I want to say, against RPG. The SoA definitely doesn't want to face another Tychus either. It seems like they just want to target ban at this point. They don't really care about map-oriented bans. They just want to play in their comfort zone to hopefully make that series last a little bit longer. But on the other side, RPG looking pretty okay. I think Zarya, it's not really her most favorite map, but it's definitely a good one for her because there's no, technically speaking, bad map for Zarya in general. No, and there goes the Rabbit and Arthas.
This is very much more
beautiful.
You. But just to talk about the Tychus ban and the Li Ming ban a bit more, something we've seen a lot in Europe recently is a Nubrak being picked at the same pick phase as Li Ming. Because what is the biggest counter to Li Ming? A Nubrak. So having them on the same team gives you an insane amount of efficiency. The Tychus ban, a Nubrak's biggest weakness is auto attacks. So banning that out is also very efficient. Greymane, however, is going to be a bit of a menace for that. We'll keep an eye on it. And the Arthas, still just an insanely strong tank, definitely one of the strongest at the moment, at least according to the Western scene. So let's see if RPG can use it to great effect. Right now they have a very frontline heavy team. Arthas, Karazim, Greymane all going to be able to just push in and force their way through. Even Zarya is only at a 2 range, I think.
The synergy between Karazim and Arthas cannot be underestimated either, because whenever Arthas has a speed boost mechanic in his team, his own combat performance is going to increase tremendously, because he's a very slow, a very clunky hero at times. So when he has someone like a Lucio in his team, or a Karazim with a movement speed buff from Breath of Heaven, then he can catch people a lot more easily, and that might be very scary potentially for SoA. Now, they conclude their draft with Falstad and ETC, and on paper, I think their team once again looks very, very okay. Very, very solid, well-rounded. I think they have good damage overall. Falstad offers good solo laning potential as well if they want to go that route. Even a Nubarek could hold the solo lane if he wanted to. And I think the damage is okay. Attack speed boost from ETC and Vala can actually make a big difference here as well. It is now time for RPG to make their final pick. I actually want to see a Lucio here maybe, because I really think that the double movement speed can be super good with Arthas. I think Karazim adds enough damage for the Immortal already, and it wouldn't surprise me to see another support. In my personal preference, it would be Lucio.
I like the idea of a Lucio. I also like the idea of a second range damage dealer so that they have at
also
least
possible
something
for
in
sure.
the back line. Alarak. Okay, so a very melee-heavy style here. The Alarak, well, at least we see some Protoss love. It's not Artanis,
yes.
But we see at least a Protoss making it through the draft. Alarak, very interesting. Now, all of the casters had a bit of a disagreement over the Alarak being picked at the Western Clash by Misfits. We felt it to be very peculiar in the fact that we all believed that Thrall gained a bit more efficiency, because that was when Alarak was picked when they needed a solo laner. RPG already have lots of potential solo laners, so that's not a big deal for them. So Alarak's going to be good for them. The silences that they can drop will be very strong. It's not as much immortal damage, but overall, it's still very good for their burst styles. So it's a strange composition that they have, very mismatched, but one that can absolutely decimate individual heroes.
I think RPG is definitely going out on a limb here. I think they play a very risky comp, as you said, Tetra, which is hard to execute. So the Alarak, of course, has decent synergy with the boss area or the Immortal area as well, when there are those stun zones going down and you swap enemies inside it. But it's very hard to say if that's going to be working all the time. And I'm not sure if they are kind of forced to go for such an unnecessary risk here. They're leading 2-0. Sure, they could go in experimentation mode and they could try a couple of new comps now, because even if they end up losing, they still have an advantage in the series. But if I had been on the side of RPG, I would have played it a little bit more standard. Maybe with a Thrall, maybe with a Leoric, a safer solo laner in general. But I think those Chinese guys, they know what they're doing. Alarak, of course, proves to be a menace in the solo lane. Probably going to face Falstad or a Nubarek, but let's see what those teams have in store for us on Battlefield of Eternity.
So, indeed, Battlefield of Eternity, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be Rhaegar, Falstad, ETC, and Nubarek finally, and Valor coming in here for SoA. Is this the comp that brings them the comeback. I would say that Anubrak makes a difference. Unfortunately, the other incredible tank we see in the Western scene is on the side of RPG. It is Alarak, Arthas, the Lich King, Karazim, Zarya, and Greymane.
You mentioned Anubrak, Tetcher, and that is another point that speaks against an Alarak pick, because almost all of his damage is delivered through ability sources. Like, all of his abilities are dealing ability damage. Obviously, a no-brainer, and his auto attacks are pretty much a non-factor. However, Greymane is pretty good at that to compensate for it, because his Worgen attacks hit super hard, especially in a low HP tank like Anubrak. But here we go. Those guys are smashing heads against each other already.
Yeah, Arthur's man-moding it through, a lot of damage. Karazim deciding that he wanted to be in the backline and getting killed off, unfortunately. Not working out as well as I expect they hoped here. So overall, interesting start there. First blood going over to SoA. Chicken. Now, the fact is, like I said, I will have doubted this Alarak, except it's Chicken, and he immediately out-trades Mask just super hard, and is able to take full control of this bot lane.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting lane for sure between Chicken and his counterpart, the Anubrak. Now, Uncle G here taking a lot of damage, and keep in mind that you can never underestimate a Karazim that went for Iron Fist. Even in the early stages of the game, he deals a lot of damage. While at the same time remaining quite slippery. Like, it's not easy to catch him, because every third basic attack is going to give him a movement speed boost as well. So yeah, also we see a grenade build from the Zarya, which actually makes a lot of sense against the backline they have on the side of SoA. I think that's acceptable.
The thing is, they don't really have their own backline, so having Zarya as sort of the secondary pseudo support here. Karazim protects the front line, Zarya protects the heroes that need protecting, and also can siege the Immortal a little bit and gain stacks at the same time, seeing as a lot of heroes group up around the Immortal when they are defending it. Zarya begins to poke Karazim straight into the backline and is punching Uncle G super hard, but Arthas is killed off straight away here. Down goes Greymane too, and SoA taking control of this game, 3 kills to 0 right now, and they immediately start on the Immortal.
SoA here getting in surprising amount of early game lead here. I did not expect them to perform that well. However, I have to criticize RPG's positioning here, especially Karazim seems to be struggling in those very first minutes, because he died twice already, and you just can't afford to get caught against a team that has an ETC near the enemy Immortal. Like, you definitely need to keep your distance. I know Karazim is a melee support, and if he's not close to enemies, he's not going to deliver much value, but still, better be safe than sorry, and I hope for those next team fights, Sa is going to play a little bit more carefully.
Slight misplay, I think, here by SoA. They didn't put any pressure onto the enemy Immortal. Despite having a talent advantage, they all just went to rush their own Immortal. I think it would have made a lot more sense to leave ETC or Anubrak at the enemy Immortal and try and delay it. Instead, that shield dropped from what was going to be about 2/3, maybe half, down to less than a quarter.
Yeah.
So now this Immortal going to get way less value than it would have otherwise, so they're not going to get any value out of their talent advantage either.
Yeah, very weak indeed, and we see Mask here on Anubrak actually holding the ground very nicely against Alarak, and once again in the meantime we see another engage.
Greymane dropped low, being forced out. Karazim taking some lightning rods as well, but he's also able to pull away here. He's still taking that damage, but he is out of at least immediate danger now. A little bit of a brute onto ETC, who is playing very aggressively and doing a great job of it. Immortal does go down, they do get the 4, so even with the low shield, that is about as much as they could have hoped for. Great job by SoA.
Great job indeed, and look at the global XP counter here. 1 entire level is the lead for SoA here, and this is exactly what they need in order to stay alive in that series. Now ETC getting pressured a little bit. Crowd Surfer though, easy peasy over the wall, and nice escape, but they do have to give up this mercenary camp in the bottom.
Yeah, Anubrak with some anti-mount synergy there, taking the heart mount despite taking the mecha skin. What are you doing there, friend? But we're now seeing RPG showing, even though they are behind, they're still throwing out a bit of map control. They're able to grab the... actually, no, they did lose the... they were able to clear up that camp very quickly and then put a lot of pressure onto that bot lane, forcing Falset away. And once again, ETC, they try and engage on him, but Blog Party and Crowd Surfer, ETC doesn't care. He just pulls away.
We're going to have to take a look at some of those talent builds here on the side of RPG. I know Greymane and Arthas are not the heroes we are used to seeing in China, but look at those talents. I think they're extremely weird. Arthas not going...
Right on Greymane?
I think it is. Like, we don't see a cocktail build on Loktar, which is considered to be the norm, even on a single-target DPS map like Battlefield of Eternity. And Arthas not going for the Frozen Waste at level 4, which is extremely weird to see. Instead, going for a Death Coil standard build so far. I personally have never seen that in competitive play ever since Arthas got reworked.
No, I'm desperately trying to remember what that talent is called.
Yeah, I can't remember on top of my head.
It's Deathlord, I believe.
I think it's Deathlord too. It gives you a longer range on your Death Coil and a lower cooldown. Now, he goes for Immortal Coil, no Icebound Fortitude.
Yeah, so he is just going for a poke through, which I guess is fine. They've basically picked all melee heroes and gone for mostly ranged talents on the majority of them. Greymane, that is Wizard Duelist, my friend, coming in at level 7. So RPG, it is go hard or go home for them right now. They either want to get that Greymane stacked as all hell, or they're going to be in serious trouble. They're wrapping around the Immortal, looking for a good choke point, maybe if they can get a nice arc there. But instead, having to pull back to their own Immortal as Nubarak is being a menace. Good engagement immediately onto Zarya here, who is out of position, unable to do anything. Karazim deep in the backline doing damage, but not enough. He's able to dash to freedom this time, though. Greymane, nice roll out to keep himself safe. EDC, good stun, but he's getting worked down by Greymane. Forced and he's killed off, but Arthas dropped so low. He's
still alive!
Through. He heals himself. Down goes Karazim, though. And that is going to be
bloodbath.
So many kills. And Nubarak dropped low. He's fighting finish off. And Greymane, he's so stacked. He's got so many stacks from that.
He's a big player right now. He just got 5 stacks for the Wizard Duelist. And I just can't believe I have never seen 2 teams fighting in a choke point like that. None of the teams was willing to retreat. They were all holding their ground. And I have to give the fall to SoA here as well. Like, EGC diving in super recklessly, not only in a choke point, which is really disadvantageous to fight in the first place, but also near the enemy Immortal. Like, there was no reason for Agua 1 to just go in that deep. Look at that! They're all stacked up. I have never seen anything quite like that.
They get huge damage. Karazim is dropped so low. ETC finally gets in there and puts some pressure, but he goes into Immortal and forces himself into a rough position. The perfectly timed self-heal by Arthas, keeping himself alive, and the silence from Alarak sets up everyone else to die. And that's the value that Alarak, especially with that increased area on the silence he can get, can come into so much use. So now the question is, how long can they keep Greymane alive? How long can they get value? That's it.
Oh my goodness!
The Immortal's already dead. That's a bit late, but we're able to at least get. I guess they slowed them. I guess I don't get that. Okay, fine.
I guess Syndragosa just wanted to come out and play a bit. You know, Arthas couldn't really handle her anymore. I do like the Divine Palm, though, to keep Greymane alive. So I think Za's job is going to be to keep Greymane alive to prevent all these Wizard Duelist stacks from disappearing. I do like the Syndragosa in a way that it provides a lot of additional value when you push with the rest of your team and the Immortal, most importantly. But yeah, back to that replay, back to that team fight, it almost looked like Greymane was the gatekeeper between those 2 rocks, and he just didn't let anyone go through. We see a lot of crazy team fight mechanics or team fight wombo combo potential on the side of SoA, though. They have the Mosh Pit, which is a no-brainer. The map is too small for Stage Chef to get a lot of value on. The Locust Swarm dealing a lot of damage that many people sometimes seem to forget about. We see a strafe coming in here as well. So if ETC gets rolling, I think the follow-up is going to be very, very painful to deal with for RPG.
Yeah. Let's count the interrupts. We have the silence from Alarak, which is why Alarak does make a little bit more sense as a choice here, as opposed to only having Sunder as an interrupt, and Expulsion Zone. And that's your lot. Those are your entire interrupts for Mosh Pit right now.
Doesn't look too good, yeah.
It does not. Arthas, by the way, once again, getting that self-heal, poking down a little bit of damage. ETC, he's looking for it. He's looking for the Mosh Pit.
Yeah,
but as such, everyone playing very cautiously. Alarak finds ETC, able to drop a good silence on trim. Remember, Alarak does not have the stacking damage. Instead, he has the stacking cooldown reduction on his lightning, giving himself a lot of that extra sustain. And of course, the Counter-Strike coming in as his heroic.
Yeah. Counter-Strike, very valuable, especially if you get caught out of position here near an enemy Immortal, for example. Makes him invulnerable for a short period of time. Now, ETC once again trying to go in with a power slate, but not connecting on anyone.
Counter-Strike is used. Huge damage onto ETC, but he's ancestraled out. Expulsion Zone will cancel the Mosh Pit, keeping everyone alive. Alarak in full retreat, getting focused down. He's so...
Oh, misclick!
by ETC. The palm not working out there, and we're seeing Greymane drop low, down he goes, rip stacks, and everyone else getting killed off at the Karazim, finished off by Falstad. Even though Falstad taking some big poke damage from Zarya, Zarya drops down too, even Arthur's poking onto Falstad, but that is a 4-for-1 in favor of SoA.
Please, everyone in chat, press F to pay respects to Greymane's Wizened Duelist stacks, because they are no more. A very unfortunate turn of events here for RPG. The initial moments didn't really look too bad. The mosh pit was interrupted very nicely with the expulsion zone, but then it just went from bad to worse when Karazim in particular saw not hitting that Divine Palm was crucial, because Alarak could have otherwise absorbed so much damage and still come back to life here. But that happens to the best of us, especially if you play with quick cast on, which sometimes makes it a little bit too easy for you to misclick. So maybe a little bit of a mechanical misplay here on the side of Za. Hopefully that's not going to repeat itself here.
Hopefully not. We'll keep an eye out on it for the moment. But like you said, super rough there. And we're seeing Falstad once again taking a little bit of harassment. Greymane, he wants those stacks back, playing aggressively, able to roll out of danger. That thick skin is protecting him quite nicely. By the way, we are seeing the extra spines on Anubrak here, so he gets
Burning Rage as well at 13.
Yeah, he's gone for a lot of AoE damage.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see here. He's looking for an angle to try and knock someone up, and he can also poke a little bit with this build. It's very, very slow, but it's still immortal damage from range. Arthas, though, also getting some great poke potential, demounting heroes left, right, and center.
Yeah, they need 13, and that's the reason why you see Alaric now soaking up the minions and the mercenaries in the bottom lane. They don't want to fight with a talent down here. Despite RPG losing a couple of teamfights, they are still remarkably close in terms of overall experience. So they should be able to fight on even footing, which is very, very important. Now, a nice triple stun here from Mask to keep him at bay. In terms of immortal progress, everything is pointing in favor of SoA right now, and they really need to make it work if they want to stay in this series, I feel. But look at that strong poke coming in from Zarya's grenades. Very, very useful. Karazim trying to bait here.
Karazim able to dash away, takes a huge chunk of damage on himself though, so very risky. A slight issue with this talent that Anubrak has picked here. He's giving Zarya all the energy ever, and as such she's able to just siege with these
good observation, man.
Very efficiently. She is having a wonderful time, but Karazim's still a little bit low. He's so slowly healing himself back up. But with that low health, we saw a little bit of aggression coming out of SoA, but the positioning from RPG is very good. They are holding the line, Kendrick.
They're holding the line indeed, and that's exactly how you need to position yourselves when you're playing against the ETZ. Look at that. The power slate going completely into nothing here. Jiza now a little bit in trouble on the Karazim. Here comes the Syndragosa, though.
Syndragosa coming in. Greymane from the side. ETC doesn't get Ancestral. He gets killed off. The side is onto Anubrak. Immediate engage there. Karazim
2 stacks.
Into the backline onto Valor. They're able to get 2 stacks, killing off Anubrak as well. Karazim once again barely gets out. But great against these aggressive Syndragosa. Getting the worth there for RPG. They're able to do well. We're seeing Falstad coming in, getting a little bit of poke, gets silenced. Rhaegar is next to him, so he's able to keep him alive. Greymane actually drops a little bit low by Rhaegar. They will get the Immortal. Valor, though, is being sneaky off to the side. She was able to get a bit of immortal health. Unfortunately, Arthas has found her, and Arthas
and you can run away from him.
And Valor's actually having a really doing a lot of damage to him. Unfortunately, she is trapped and will get killed off. Another stack indeed.
Oh, that was beautifully fought by RPG, but milliseconds really was what were deciding that team fight. If the Ancestral had hit a little bit sooner, ETC would have been alive, and this whole team fight could have looked differently. But that's, of course, exactly what RPG's comp is designed for. They want to kill a single target, be it the warrior, be it the backliner, as fast as humanly possible, and they did exactly that. So great performance, great coordination here in that case. And this is basically their game to take right now. They're getting a 4. The Immortal is still at 50% health. So let's see if they can track someone down. And oh my god, that denial on Rhaegar is beautiful.
Yeah, the expulsion zone was good as well. We see a route onto a Nubrak, but he's tanking through. ETC gets Ancestral. The Nubrak burrows out. Everyone stays alive here. Also, just to point out quickly, Karazim at his level 13, instead of going for Quicksilver like we usually see, nice Syndragosa, instead of going for Quicksilver like we usually see, he's realized, yeah, I'm dying very close, or getting very close to dying a lot. I'm just going to take Spell Shield. So he is going to be a little bit more sustained. ETC from behind with the power slide here, looking for any opportunity for that mosh pit. But he's not able to get everyone grouped up enough. He only needs to catch 2 heroes. Actually, no, 1, because the expulsion zone is on cooldown, so he only needs to get 1 hero to prevent any kind of interrupt, and that's Alarak. Question is this team in position to follow up with Ancestral now on cooldown?
Now, Tetra, I'm actually going to have to criticize the spell sheet here, because if you take a look at SoA's team comp, they're all about auto attacks. Falstad went for Seasoned Marksman. Vala, of course, is not really known to deal a lot of magic damage either. And they have tons of stuns. So if he had gone for Sixth Sense, I think he might have actually gotten more survivability out of this during a longer, prolonged team fight, because they have an abundance of stun on ETC and Nubarex. So if I had been ETC in that call, I think I would have gone for Sixth Sense instead.
I can definitely see that. I agree with your point there. I mean, Spell Shield, I think, can get some insane value if you're able to proc it. If you don't just leave it up passively, like
even
a
a
lot
Burning
of
Rage could now proc it, basically, from a Nubarex.
If you're able to activate it on Hungering Arrow, you can get some crazy value out of it, or even like maybe on the Nubrak knockup, because that gets some decent damage in as well. So if you're able to activate it like that, then sure, you can get some good value. But otherwise, Sixth Sense is going to get infinitely more value in team fights. Arthur's getting stunned up here. He's tanking through. The Gust is good, but it only really catches Zarya. Good palm this time, protecting Arthur's, but the Mosh Pit is down. It is finally interrupted with the Expulsion Zone. Ancestral is not landing. Down goes Falstad. The Syndragosa is used, and now it's Rhaegar they're attempting to get. And Rhaegar does escape, and Nubrak getting chased down. Greymane has stacks.
Look at those powerful hits, man.
Looking for Rhaegar, and goodbye Rhaegar too. Beautiful RPG. Able to do this. They're not even going to get the Immortal. They're going to move straight in for the end.
Feels good, man, when you get all those stacks back. In the case of Locter, he's going to be a very happy puppy after this game for sure, because Greymane made all the difference in that team fight. He just shredded Anubra like it was a paper tank, basically. So, very, very well done once again by RPG. Also, a great palm this time coming around from Za. He definitely redeemed himself after that weak early game performance by him. So, well played, GG RPG, taking that series 3-0, not even breaking a sweat, it seemed. And the big X factor, the big unknown factor in the Chinese HGC, proving to be very, very strong after Kiss kind of disappointing yesterday. The other qualified amateur team, RPG Tetra, they're looking really, really good.
They really are, but I will say, SoA looked better and better every single game we saw of them. I am excited to see if they can pull out some wins in their future games. For now, though, it's all about RPG, and Logtar coming out in this particular game, showing that this is not a one-chicken team. He is here as well, and he can drop some crazy damage. Like you said, Sa also coming in and earning his stripes there with the Kharazim, getting some great value in the late game, was finally able to drop some of those perfect palms.
Yeah, that was some good stuff coming in from RPG for sure, and I think it's safe to say that we're going to keenly observe them a little bit more as they make their way towards the other teams, or when they face other teams in the Chinese HGC. There are a couple of big names in there, E-Star, X-Team, and SPT, of course, only to mention a few, but